Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. It is exactly 8:45 a.m. News and views right here on Salam Media with me, Julie Ali. And I'm absolutely honored to introduce our next guest. She is the lovely, gorgeous Shamila Khan, based in the Western Cape. She's a filmmaker and a researcher, and she's here to talk to us about her short film. It is entitled The Veil. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the program.
Walaikum salam. Shukran for having me, and assalamu alaikum to the listeners, and good morning.
Okay, lovely to have you here. Shamila, tell us a little bit about yourself. What did you study and how did this film, The Veil, come about? And talk to me a little bit about your previous work as well. But first and foremost, obviously you studied film and production, etc. But give us a little more detail.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Well, I studied film and visual arts at the University of Wits. And then I went on to study creative writing as well. And then I did my master's in visual arts as well. After that, I worked in the academic space at After University for some time, like 4 years. And then I continued on that path a little bit. I worked at CPUT as well for just a little bit. And then I sort of left that space and I entered into the creative sort of the filmmaking, making work. And that's really where my path sort of went after that. But in all of that time, and right now I currently work as a creative director at Harun Kansali Studios. I also work in Women of Waqf, the organization. And yeah, just doing a little bit of that. So I where was I?
Alhamdulillah, you're sketching your background for us, and I'm so
yeah.
in awe. Alhamdulillah. I guess the question then to ask is, with social media having overtaken our lives, TikTok and everything else that happens, and everybody wanting, with due respect to you, obviously, because you are, you studied this line of work, and for you to be going out with promoting your film, The Veil, is the right thing to be doing. But other people wanting their 5 minutes of fame via TikTok or little short videos, whether they be funny, informative, whether they have a social, justice message to it, whatever it might be, competition's pretty stiff, is it not?
Yes, I mean, I think the way for me to answer this is, I guess, to give a little bit of background as to the veil and how it came about. So I didn't answer the second part of the question, but essentially, I made some documentaries, and then as a result, I applied for. So there was a kind of solidarity filmmaking opportunity with Bertha House in Cape Town. And Bertha House is also an organization that centers creative arts, community outreach. They do many, many things. And as part of that, 10 filmmakers from South Africa and 10 filmmakers from Turkey had to choose, had to select a solidarity issue, something that they wanted to make a short about. And it was actually a part of a mobile film festival. So we made a 5-minute film on a very minimal budget. And we had to select one thing that we were passionate about as activists and as, I guess, young filmmakers. And as a result, I decided to look at mosque spaces, which has been a part of my work in WOW for quite some time as well.
Alhamdulillah, we do know that is an issue within the South African context. And we also know that any other part of the world that you do go to, mosque spaces are available for women, very especially the Holy Lands. And that is why we as South African women keep asking this question: how come? How come we have access to the greatest of mosques in the world, in the Holy Lands, and how come we don't have access here? When you started this journey with The Veil, apart from the same questions that I've put to you are the questions that most women in South Africa probably keep asking. You were brave enough and bold enough, and you've had the experience to go out and make your voice heard with this short film, The Veil. What was the response from the community like? Religious leaders, that's very, very important as well. Was there encouragement? And do you believe that when you shared the story with other women, they kind of agreed that, yes, you are speaking in our voice. We feel exactly the same as you do.
Um, I really love this question because it actually ties into the process of how the veil got made. So, yes, there was a little script to the veil, but the process was actually a collaboration. So, the way in which I wanted to make this film was, even though I was using the theme of solidarity, I wanted the process to reflect a solidarity in some way that was a lived thing. So what I did was, I wrote the sort of the narration and the story and how it would unfold. But everyone who participated in this film, they aren't like trained actresses and all of that. These are my community members who have been in support of, women access in the masjids, and I basically sent out a call and said, I want to make this thing, but I want women to be in the mosque, women who feel the same way about the mosque as me, and I want us to collaborate and make this film together. So for example, the woman that you're actually seeing, Rifka, she was actually really pregnant. She wasn't acting. She was really pregnant, and I wanted her to be my main, the main protagonist. And I wanted the woman to show up at the mosque, and also this was a celebration for her. um, and it was just such an amazing process. So many women showed up, they brought stuff to create the set design. um,
MashaAllah.
some moments, an auntie will say, Shamla, I think that you should actually, maybe we should move the camera and we should do this. And I was like, yes, that's
Oh,
an
wow.
excellent idea. So it was actually just a day at the masjid, just engaging in love and joy. And really, we sat together and we ate. So there's a scene where you see all the women putting their spoons into some rice. That is us actually eating. So
Okay.
I turned it into a day in the masjid for women, that felt safe, that felt like an act of solidarity, and that felt held, and was, collaborative. And I think that's how I would like to make films always, because it was such an experience.
Okay, so this is a 5, 6 minute film. Um, I'm wondering how long did it take to shoot? And I like what you said when one of the aunties said to you that the lighting needed to be moved or changed, because it indicated their deep connection and participation to this whole process. Alhamdulillah. Never mind that they didn't understand anything about filmmaking. Lighting, cameras, etc., etc., but just the fact that they bought into the idea. So, how long did it, in fact, take to shoot the film, and when, how you're going to release it? Is this going to be a podcast for people to download and watch, or, and also the big question, are you going to enter this film at any one of the film festivals, the short film festivals?
Okay, Bismillah. I actually have submitted it. It's screened at Encounters Documentary Film Festival, um, which happened, I think, yeah, which happened this year.
Mhm.
And it received a really good response. I think a lot of people have, sent me messages like, this is just so well made. It's really beautiful. And when I think back to the process, it was actually just a lot of steps to get to that final 5 minutes. To make a 5 minute film is incredibly difficult. Like, you have so many shots, so many scenes, and you have to cut out a lot of things. You have to get, and we had to get it to like 5 minutes. And it taught me a lot about how to tell stories in a very short amount of time. Essentially, the way that I made this film was, I wrote the script. I worked with a mentor who's Antoinette Engel. She's really amazing. And she helped me facilitate that process. And then I worked with Shanaz Munshi, also a really great thinker doing amazing work. And she and I sat together and thought about how we could creatively curate the space of the mosque. Um, and then I just, got the mosque space, which is Brixton, which also has a history of mosque access for women. And then we asked the woman, would you be interested in coming through? And then we kind of had a breath work session, and then we did dhikr together, and then we there was the prayer, and then we sat in and designed, which is essentially the work around the woman who's coming to the mosque, and she's in labor, and how can we create a space that is gentle for her and kind, and how can we make things better for her, and how can the mosque
Okay,
be that
okay.
space?
I don't want you to give away too much about the actual
Okay.
movie. I want people to access it and watch the movie.
Oh yes.
And I
um
know a lot of people that are connected to that mosque in Brixton. Some of my very good friends are
oh,
associated with
lovely.
it. So exactly know, where you're coming from with this movie. I'm interested in knowing how our brothers and fathers have reacted to the movie and the access. Okay, you were at a female friendly masjid, that's the Brixton Masjid, but did you get pushback from the ulama or religious leaders at all, or was there lots of encouragement? I'm talking about our brothers and our fathers.
Yes. Before I answer that question, I wanted to just add that I've made the link available for a short time. So anyone who wants to see it can just see it. It is available, but I'll take it off public after some time. So to answer this question, I'm curious as well to know what men and men have thought about this. So, I actually, the first time it screened at the festival, I watched it with my father and my brother, and it was a really beautiful moment for me to watch this with my father, and also just think about all the activist work that I've been doing with the mosque. And so to have my father sit with me and say, this is so amazing, this is wonderful, that was a really beautiful moment for me. In terms of the broader community, I have not heard from them, and I'm very curious. I mean, in outside of a few of my community members who are in support, there are so many men, young men, older men, who are very much in support of this. And I mean, when we got to the mosque, we were facilitated by the men there. So it was like the men came to pray, and they kind of prayed to the side, allowed us to continue in the space, in the main space. It was a really beautiful um, day. And the men at the masjid really supported us. They didn't question it. They weren't arguing, why are there cameras in the mosque? They just kind of did their prayer and left. Um, but I would
Uh-huh.
love to hear from the broader male community, and I wonder what pushback would look like and what kind of questions would come about, because I do believe that's how we can have conversation. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Okay. I do wish you lots and lots of,
shukran.
goodwill going forward, because I think I watched it, obviously, absolutely amazed. For me, as I watched it, I was struck by it was so mystical, the way it was shot, slightly in shadow as well, so spiritual. This is the feelings it evoked in me, spiritual. And now that I hear you talking, I realize that you were the narrator of the actual piece as well, because I recognize your voice. And just the narration was so beautiful. And when you talk about your mama, and I think you say, and your papa, you were referring to your grandparents. Am I right? Or was it your parents?
Yes, it's I mean, it's a fictional, sorry, that's the boat. It's a fictional salt river. It's a fictional narration, but it is
No, no, I
based
get
on
that. I get that, but
Yeah,
the
it's
beauty
based on
of,
stories from my ancestors. So I draw from stories from my granny, and I draw from stories from my mom, and
yeah,
particularly around Dihelam. Just growing up and
it
hearing
was
about this,
beautiful.
and
It
I wanted
resonates
to,
with us as women.
yes, exactly, and I wanted to create a very poetic, a very soft, a gentle kind of narration. But I was drawing on things about, South Africa, our history, and the sort of stories we inherit from the women before us. Um, and so I did try to make it an ancestral, um, a story in many
Well, I can
ways.
tell you it was absolutely beautiful, worth the
Yeah,
what. We're going to have to leave it there. Unfortunately, I've run out of
yeah.
time, but absolutely delighted chatting with you this morning. Your film was absolutely beautiful. I loved it. I'll probably watch it again and again before you take it off. I like the piece about the helm, or we used to refer to, as I was growing up, I was always told if a baby is born in the veil, that baby is going to be so lucky and fortunate and everything great's going to happen. And I kind of always asked, why was I not born in a veil or the helm? But thank you so much. Absolutely delightful.
Shukran.
And
Shukran.
just one final short question and short answer. What does your future projects look like?
Well, shukran so much for the platform. I really appreciate it. I love the work that Salam Media does, and they've always supported us. In
Alhamdulillah.
terms of my future work, I'm hoping to make some more work like that. But I am working with Harun Gansali, and we're making a lot of interest. We're working with District 6 community. We're working with a piece around Imam Harun. So I'm still sort of doing that. And then there's Women of Waqf, and we're going to be doing some very interesting Islamic futurism work. So
Okay.
I can't wait to share that.
Well, you keep us in the loop, please. We will talk about it long and hard and bring all of these amazing stories to our community. Thank you indeed. Go well. Salams, love, and
Shukran.
duas to
Walaikum
you.
salam. To you
Take
too.
care.
Walaikum salam.
That was Shamila Khan, the amazing young lady that's made the 6 minute clip. It's a short movie called The Veil. It is available on Vimeo, vimeo.com/712907775. If you didn't manage to get that, the link, please call us here at Salam Media. We will make it available to you. It is exactly 2 minutes after 9 o'clock, and I do know that Imtiaz Sayed, well, I hope so, is standing by to talk to me. He's from eThekwini Secure, so please stand by.